This is the Teletrac tablet unit, and if you notice on the bottom there are several buttons, several sequence of buttons there. And to log into the unit, you want to press the driver login button. When you press the driver login button, a new screen will appear. And this is where you're going to enter your driver information, your driver ID number, your PIN number, and the charter order number. To enter the driver ID number, you simply touch anywhere in the middle of the screen. Sometimes the screen is white, sometimes it's black. Sometimes you have to re-hit the screen to bring up the view. Now we're going to enter the driver ID number. I have entered my driver ID number, WB7059, in the upper screen using the alphabet and the numbers. And now I'm going to check the green checkbox at the bottom right of the screen to change the screen to the password mode. And now you get the login screen again, and you'll notice in the driver ID number WB7059. I'm going to touch the center of the screen again, and now I can enter my password. By selecting the alphabet and number on the screen, that will change the screen from the numbers to the letters. Now that I have the password in there, 0984, I'm going to check the green box on the bottom right corner again to send the data to the main login screen. Now I have the driver ID and the PIN number. I'm going to select the screen in the middle again one more time so that I can put the charter order number in. But today, since this is just training, I'm going to spell training. After I have training spelt in the manifest line where normally the charter order would go, I'm going to select the Go button. The system is now looking for the driver, and it's going to be asking a few questions before it actually logs you onto the bus. Depending on the system and how busy it is, it could take up to 5 to 10 minutes to locate you in the system and update with your last 7 days work hours. Once it finds your data in the system, it may ask you a series of questions. For instance, do you want to make any status edits before login? This answer is generally no. We would rather that you do any edits through the computer in the office or at home rather than doing it on the screen for more accuracy. So I'm going to answer this question with a no. The next thing the Teletrac system is going to offer you is that it's going to place you automatically now into on-duty not driving, and it has a specific time, and there is no option other than OK. It's letting them know that you're okay with them doing that decision. So just checking the OK box. The next screen is going to say, or does say, do you wish to sign and submit logs? Again, we want to say no to this. We would rather that you sign the logs on the computer, either in the office or at home. So I'm going to click the no button on that answer. After you have checked all the answers correctly for the login, you're going to notice a series of numbers. Currently, we are on duty, not driving. And you can look at the right side of the screen where you can see your 7-8 day hours of work history, and that you are, the screen goes blank from time to time, so you just have to touch the screen on the newer units. You can also tell that on the very top line that's highlighted in the green, it has the driver ID, the status, and in this case we're on duty, not driving, the drive time, which is 0 because we haven't driven anywhere yet, and the total time on duty so far today. And the final line is the 7/8 day, which is indicating 40 hours and 54 minutes. After all the information is listed and you are clearly on duty, the unit is ready to go. You don't need to touch the unit anymore unless you need to tell it to go off duty while you're waiting for people. For example, if you're going to be parked and waiting for 4 hours, you want to be off duty on the vehicle so it doesn't eat up your on-duty hours. At this time, if the unit started to drive 100 feet from its current stop location, the unit will automatically pick up that the bus is moving and start logging you in the on-duty driving line of your log. You don't have to do anything else to this unit once you are logged in, again, except for telling the unit to go off duty while you're waiting for people. Once the unit has noticed that it's moved 100 feet from the stop location, it will automatically place itself into drive. Again, the screen will say vehicle in motion. Because this is a demonstration, it's not doing that because we are not currently moving. But if you look under the status, it now shows a D for driving. And also over on the right hand side, the D for driving, although it says zeros, will start counting as a clock every minute that the vehicle is in motion. After the vehicle is stopped for 5 minutes or more, it will prompt you to go to on duty, not driving. If you do not tell it to go to on duty, not driving, it will automatically do it for you after the bus has stopped for 5 minutes. But it will not count those 5 minutes towards your on-duty time. It will back up to the minute you first stopped. If you are clear and free of all responsibility from the bus and the group for 10 minutes or more, the law says you can go to off-duty while you're waiting for those people during that time. In order to change your status from on-duty, not driving, to off-duty, there are a few simple steps you must take. Notice at the bottom of the screen several of the buttons now: driver info, view logs, change status, driver login, driver log out. We're going to select change status because we're wanting to change the status from on-duty, not driving, to off-duty. Here are your choices on the bottom. There's on-duty, which is not highlighted, off-duty, sleeper berth, which is only for trucks, driving, and adverse conditions, which we'll discuss a little later. So we're going to choose off-duty. It's going to ask you just to double check. Change status to off-duty? Yes, or the checkbox. Now the screen is showing the driver ID and that he's off duty in the status bar. It also shows drive time of 1 minute. Although this is just training, had we driven more time, that number would appear under the drive time. Also has on duty status and the 7/8 day recap. Since technically by law, when you are reloading passengers to continue on your trip, you should be on duty, not driving during this time. So now that you're off duty, we need to place the unit back into on duty before you would load your passengers. To do that, just the same way we did as we went on to the off duty, we select the change status button, and then now the off duty button is now faded, and the on duty button with the others are now highlighted, and we're going to choose back on duty. Do you want to change status to on duty? Yes, or the checkbox. And now you'll see that it changes the status to on duty. Now when the bus starts to move, automatically it will change to the driving line without any further adjustments on the screen. If for some reason you forget to place it back into on duty, not driving while loading your passengers, and start to drive the vehicle, once the vehicle has moved about 100 feet, it will automatically place you in the driving line of your log. So you don't necessarily have to tell it to go on duty after you've waited for people. It will change automatically. However, the law says that you should be on duty while reboarding your passengers. Okay, if you get inspected and they want to see your previous 7 days information, there are several places you can see that information. One is on the bottom right corner of the screen where it says 7/8 day and 4108. You can also see it in a highlighted mark up above. But if they want to see a more detailed view, you can click View Logs. And this will give you a better log summary with more information on it, including mileage and the time you started today, etc. Although if the inspector insists on seeing your log grid, you can simply click on Log Grid and it will show you the current day's grid. Although the graph is not as good on this display as it is on the computer side, it does give the information the inspector would be wanting to look at. If the inspector wants to see your previous day's log, for instance on August the 4th, you would need to use the arrows on the top to go back to the previous day's log. They may be wanting to see if you had 8 hours off between the time you were off duty and the time you started today, providing you drove 10 hours yesterday. It's very important that you know how to look up your previous 7 days logs on this device. If you cannot perform the function in front of the inspecting officer, they could be placing you out of service. We're now going to discuss the proper way to log out of the vehicle. It's important that you log out of the vehicle each and every night, even if you're going to be in the same vehicle the next day. That way when you log in, it will always update your last current 7-8 day hours of service numbers. It's very important that you don't forget to log completely out of the bus each night, especially when you're at the office at the end of a trip. If you fail to log out and the bus is taken out on the road to another trip, you will now be attached to that vehicle as a co-driver, which could put you into violation time if you have exceeded your 10 hours of driving or 15 hours of on duty. It's just as easy to log out of the machine as it is to log into the machine. It's quite simple. Just simply select Driver Log Out. It's going to ask you another series of questions in which you want to answer no. This one is, do you wish to sign and submit logs? You can sign the logs from the device, but remember, if you say yes at this point, it's going to go back 7 days first and want you to sign your logs from the last 7 days one at a time till it gets up to the current day. So in this case, we're going to say no. The final question right here that many drivers forget to answer. They are still logged on to the vehicle at this point. They have not answered the final question. It's asking and double checking, do you want to log out? You don't have an option, so you just say okay by pushing that button. Now the driver, the status is out and there's no numbers on the right side. That's when you know you are properly logged out of the bus. Oftentimes drivers have trouble logging into the device. This is a two-part system. Part 1 is cellular phone. It works with cell sites nearby. So oftentimes if it's got a bad signal or in a poor area, it may not log in and tell you that it's got a poor coverage area. At that time, you may want to move the coach maybe a few hundred feet and try and log in again. If it still fails to log in, there are a few things you can do. One, you can reset the tablet by simply locating on the very edge of the tablet a small tiny hole that you'll need a paper clip or other small puncture device to be able to reset the tiny button. Once it's reset, you can try and log in again. Let's talk about adverse conditions and how they can be safely applied to the unit while you're driving. Now let's talk about adverse conditions. In this segment, you may need to use adverse conditions to extend your 10 hours of driving if you are involved with weather conditions, traffic, or some other condition that you did not know about prior to the trip. You can use adverse conditions to allow you to drive up to 2 additional hours above the 10 as long as you have not yet met 15 hours. In order to change the system into adverse conditions and select it, you have to do a couple things. One of the items is you have to go in and change status. Now you have options down here just as we talked about before. You want to select adverse weather or adverse conditions. Here are your choices: weather, traffic, road, or other. Be careful in what you select and why you're selecting it, because you might need to have some sort of a backup as to whether or not there was actual weather or actual traffic situations if inspected by a law enforcement officer. For example, if you said that there was a weather or storm-related delay and you selected weather for adverse conditions, the law enforcement officer may be able to look up the road where you were at the time you selected adverse conditions to determine whether or not there was actual weather in that area or not, or if you just use that as an excuse to get to 12 hours of driving. The proper time to select the adverse conditions button is when you're actually in the adverse conditions and you're slowed or stopped. Don't wait until the 9th hour to select it just so you can get a little extra time driving. It's important to know that law enforcement officers can look up where you said you had the delay, and if there was clearly no delay, you could be in violation. While you're driving and you reach the 9th hour of driving on your log, you will get a red screen that will tell you that you have 60 minutes remaining of drive time before you go into violation. You'll get this warning at the 9th hour, 9.25, 9.50, 9.45, and 5 minutes before the 10th hour of driving. If you go over your 10 hours of driving honestly, just put notes on your paperwork and let the office know so we can make a note on your log as to why you went over. And now we're going to discuss the computer side of the Teletrac Elog system. The main screen that you'll find on the driver info page for the Fleet Director login is quite simple. It's going to ask for 3 sources of information to log in. The first line is the company account number. The company account number is 309982, and that goes in the top line of the Fleet Director login. The second line is the driver's username, which is the same username and password that you use to log into the bus. Once all 3 fields are filled out, you can select the login button. It will look for your data and open up your account. This is the screen that will appear after you have logged into your Teletrac account on the internet side. And you'll see a series of logs. This is today's log on the top, and then other logs as you go further down the line, dating back as far as maybe possibly 7 days. To open up the log, you simply click on whichever log date that you would like to review, and the log screen will open, and you can see where we were testing going in and out, logging in and out of the bus that we were training on just previously in this video series. There is a list of unsigned logs on the left side of the screen. If you click on each and every one of these, it will load the screen for you to review and sign. To sign the log, simply notice the tab down here, click Sign Logs, and then scroll down to the bottom, and then there's another sign button at the lower part of the screen. You click Sign. It's going to ask you to certify that these are true and correct, and you just say OK, and OK again. And then that particular log for that day will disappear out of the unsigned logs list. It's best that you keep those unsigned logs out of that box so that the next time that you log into your account, you'll know right away whether or not you have a log that needs to be signed. When reviewing your logs before you sign, make sure that everything is accurate, including your stops and times. If things look okay and look normal to you, you can go ahead and sign each log. If you see something that's not correct with the log, drivers can edit the log, but they have to do it before midnight, or a supervisor will have to make the adjustment for them. So if it's before midnight and you need to make an adjustment on your log, you can do so. To edit an existing log before midnight, drivers can log into their account and then scroll down to the bottom of the current day, and notice where it says Add New Status. This is where you're going to click on, and you're going to adjust the time, the duty status, and the location of where the change is located. You can also, you'll have to put a comment down below in the comment box as to maybe why you're making the adjustment. If you want to preview the previous day's log, you can simply go up here to the grayed arrow on the left on the previous day and click it. This will take you back one day at a time, pretty much as far back as you want to go to preview any logs that are still in the system. You can just keep clicking back and it'll take you back one day at a time. Some drivers have been reporting trouble getting into the software side of the Fleet Director to see their logs on the computer. It might be a compatibility problem, and the simplest fix is you'll need to make a few simple adjustments. Locate up in the top right hand corner of your Internet Explorer the Tools button. When you click on the Tools, then go down to Compatibility View Settings, and you want to make sure that in this lower box on the left side it says Teletrac.net. You want to add that to where you have Teletrac.com and Teletrac.net in this lower box. Once that's there, just close it. Then reopen your Internet Explorer and try and re-log in. That should fix your problem. Please note that you cannot use Fleet Director Teletrac Internet account on a smartphone. Just will not work. It has to be a LAN-based computer or laptop. If you still have trouble trying to view your logs on your computer, you're welcome to call Teletrac's customer support number directly by yourself using the account for the company account number, and tell them what your troubles are, and they may be able to remote into your computer and fix any problems that may occur during your login.